I believe in slime and stink and in every crawling, putrid thing, every possible ugliness and corruption, you son of a bitch! I believe! In you.
And what we saw was the destruction. But that's not as important as what caused it. But that's not as important as what caused it. And what we saw was the destruction. But that's not as important as what caused it. And what we saw was the destruction. But that's not important as what caused it. And what we saw was the destruction. But that's not as important as what caused it. Was the destruction, but that's not as important as what caused it. And what we saw was the destruction, but that's not as important as what caused it. But that's not as important. But that's not as but that's not as important. And what we saw was the destruction. But that's not as important. But that's not as important. But that's not as important as what caused it. And